This is the #1 killer. If you're a big man and you have a little guy on you, you have to be aware that that little guy is going to want to strip the ball as soon as you bring it low. Hey everyone, welcome back to Balanced Basketball Academy. And today, as the title implies, we're seeing if Victor Wembanyama can indeed be stopped or slowed when it comes to playing defense against a player like Wembanyama. But there are two particular games that showed there are cracks in the way that Victor Wembanyama handles double teams, as of right now, that more teams could utilize to beat the Spurs. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at how Victor Wembanyama handles those in two games in particular. I watched like 3.5 games for this video. One of which was a Pelicans game in which he struggled. I'll get into that briefly. And then also part of the Bulls-Spurs game from last week or from this week. Everything's blurring together. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm ready for Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about those two games briefly, but I'm not going to get into film breakdown on those. But for now, we're going to start with the Phoenix Suns game that he played about a week ago. The first thing I want to point out is just how difficult the Suns are making everything for Wembanyama early in this game. So this particular play does not involve Wemby actually touching the ball at all. It is a pick and roll situation in which he does not get the ball. Watch the way that he has to get up to that pick. He's getting bumped all the way up into the screen. One of the best ways to kind of disrupt a screen is to bump the screener, right? Obviously without fouling, but to bump the screener as they get into the screen, slowing down the process, making it a little bit rougher as for them to get perfectly into position. And it just creates some extra friction that makes everybody's lives a little bit harder. Okay, so on this catch right here, you're going to notice that, yes, everybody's getting back, but there's a decent amount of crowding. You're going to see that you have bodies here, here, and obviously a guy on him right there. All of those are stepping on Wemby's ability to drive middle. And driving middle is obviously going to be a little easier than going baseline. Typically, when you're playing defense, you want to force somebody to the baseline because it's a tighter space. So if you're showing all these bodies into the middle, right, that makes his life a lot harder. The big key to stopping somebody who is super dominant like that is showing them as many different people stacked up as possible. So when you're thinking about backing into somebody, you're like, okay, I have to get through this guy, that guy, that guy, that. Oh my gosh, I got to get through a lot of people in order to score this. The Suns are very well versed in the scouting report. They know exactly what they have to do. Wemby's trying to catch it at the elbow right here. He gets pushed. If you're a post player, you can't get shoved by a smaller guy like that further and further out. Yes, he's an NBA player and he can score from more places than just at the elbow. Like if he gets pushed out to almost the 3-point line, it's not like, oh, suddenly he's out of range. No. But if you're the bigger guy, you got to hold your ground. You can't just let yourself shuffle off like that. And the thing is that Wemby has shown that he can be pretty solid and strong against other players that are much bigger than his defender right now. It's just a matter of, does he want to give up that ground or not? He does. So he gets this catch right here. Immediately the double comes over from the strong side, meaning that the next pass is very clear. It's going to go to number 2 right here. Boom. Booker has to rotate out. You'll notice that the backside is being covered. There's a 3-on-2 situation, but the Spurs, because they want to isolate for Wemby, have crowded all their people into one spot to where 2 people can guard 3. And that makes the double team actually a lot easier. Now, after this rotation here, Booker has a really good rotation, so there's not really an open shot here. Now, this player who was formerly guarding Wemby, they're just switching off of Wemby because they figure anybody's as good as anybody against somebody who's this tall, which is probably true. He switches back, takes that backside. Now we're back to 5-on-5. Okay, so Booker, realizing the next thing I have to do is I have to get here right now, right? Is just rotate right on over. Boom. Now, Wemby, who is trying to do something previously, has waited too long. Wemby now dribbles backwards. He gives up ground. Instead of deciding to hold his ground and pivot strong, he dribbles backwards. This is a coffin corner. Coffin corner is basically where you have two sidelines, or baseline and sideline, and then you have two defenders. You're in a coffin, so to speak. And he's completely trapped. The only reason why he can make this pass is because he's super duper tall and he jumps, but it's still not a good pass. It barely ends up in the hands of Castle. And it becomes really rough, all because, again, he was giving up ground and he took a little too long on the double, but credit to the Suns, they rotated pretty quickly as well. So he gets this pass out here. He makes this dribble to the middle. This is a good drive, okay? But I believe that's Grayson Allen. I don't know who that is. Number 12, right? I can't see the back of the number, back of the letter there. Comes over, right? He's not stunting very hard, but he's stunting hard enough. And we get this, this defender right here coming in from weak side. I mean, look, we got a guy here, right? We got a guy here, we got a guy here, we got a guy here. And yes, we have some people open out here and here, but overall, like, he's seen 4 bodies that are blocking his way into the paint. He makes the smart play and he passes it out, right? Because he's just being swarmed inside. And McLaughlin shoots a 3. He misses. The goal, though, of the Suns is they accomplish what they set out to accomplish. Wemby doesn't drive in and get a dunk. You're going to try and make the others beat you. And in this case, the others didn't beat the Suns because McLaughlin missed 3. The best way sometimes to play defense is to just not let them even get a chance to be an offensive threat. He comes right here. He's denying the ball already. He's staying on the top side of Wembanyama. He continues to stay on the top side. So if Wemby gets this catch, he's going to have to push out towards the sideline instead of moving towards a more advantageous spot. Barnes is looking for that pass, but because the entire Suns defense is bought into their defensive plan, he's facing ball pressure as well. So he can't just make that pass nice and easy. That's a tough pass. He's facing ball pressure. Wemby's facing denial, and Barnes can't seem to make the pass in a smart way, or in a safe way, because he's dealing with somebody right there. Like, he can't make that pass. He could try and fake high and go low with a bounce pass. That'd probably be the best way to do it. But then again, hindsight's 20/20. And I'm pausing it, so I'm seeing each little millisecond. That's not necessarily, real time. And Allen continues to deny, and eventually there's an offensive foul, so the play just stops from there. But the best way to keep Wembanyama out of the play is to just not let him catch. So this is a good example of how he's able to handle the double. Victor gets the catch out here on Booker. Great. The first thing he does is he knows that double is coming very fast. He has to move. So he dribbles middle quick. And the double is late because it can't get to Wembanyama fast enough. He also has very long strides, so Wemby can get pretty far in one dribble. He dribbles. Now he hits to the center of the paint. This is one of the most advantageous places to be on the floor, is in the center of the floor, right here. This is a dangerous spot, right? Look at all the eyes that are on him. You've got somebody here, here, here. Like, yes, everybody's ball watching, but it's also him. It's like Wembanyama's gravity. And because of that, Barnes is open right out here. It's a good pass, and Barnes hits the pretty open 3 right there. He does this again where he tries to move faster than the double, and this time it doesn't quite work out. And going baseline is not a bad thing, because it is what's available to him. So he gets this catch against Booker. You can see that this baseline is wide open, right? He spins right for the baseline, knowing that the double is coming for him, spinning away from the double. Booker plays good defense, stays chest to chest with him, doesn't give up any ground. Wemby has to pick the ball up. Now the double comes in, and he gets caught in a bad spot. He retreats. One of the big things is that as you face a double, you have to stay strong. You have to be able to use your pivot feet. He kind of just hurls it to get out of the situation, but in this case, a catch and a strong pivot probably wouldn't be bad, but he is trying to move faster than the double. So you can see that Wemby is smart enough that he's recognizing that I gotta move faster than this double can get to me. We'll watch the play in full motion right here. He gets this catch. Booker just plays good defense, to be frank, because if he gave up that baseline, then suddenly Wemby has a dunk. But that's not the case. They push him into the coffin corner, and then we swing, swing, swing. One of the best ways to beat any kind of double or a zone is just pass the ball, because the ball moves faster than anybody can run, and the Spurs get a 3. This is a really high post up, but I guess he just, wants to get the ball from here. Gets a good catch. Realizes, yeah, I have the open man, but I don't have to pass it right away, because look at this. There is a gap right in here, and I can get through that gap, and that's exactly what he does. So he punches that gap, keeps that ball low, keeps it strong, gets into his shot. Yes, he misses the shot, just barely, but this is a pretty good way to be able to handle the double. If you're going to get into a double, you have to close that gap as fast as you can to prevent somebody from doing something like that, because then all of a sudden you end up with a defender who's out of the play and not able to actively help you when it comes to doubling Wembanyama. So they're lucky he missed that shot. Screen and roll, lob, right? And he could throw this lob right here, but the thing is that we have several players who are watching Wembanyama because they know that this is a threat. And so immediately they pull in a second defender. Now Barnes is chilling on the baseline. He's all by himself, but he's not really a threat. You get, oh, I can't read that back there. You get number 30 back here for the skip. That could possibly happen. But you have 3 different players all in the vicinity of Wemby, right? So yes, while you have somebody open out here and somebody open here, their primary look is this lob right there. They can't get that. Now he's still doubled. Castle has to regroup, pass it out, and the play essentially dies at that point. Wemby gets an offensive foul because he hits Booker in the face. That's one of those just it happens kind of plays. But they're able to deter that really common lob where they just throw it up to Wemby as high as they can and he'll just dunk it on people because they're throwing 3 bodies at him at a time. He's being fronted, okay? Yes, you could lob this over the top, right? You could lob this ball all the way over to here, but he has to hold the seal the entire time, and this ball has to be high enough in order for you to do that. That's going to be a tough play. So they don't do that. They're waiting for him to get a cleaner seal. He's getting denied all the way up. Denied, denied, denied. This is what you have to do next, okay? This is the next thing that you would have to do, is you would have to flip around. So you're being denied, denied, denied. You have to flip around and seal him on the back side. So what he would have to do is flip, right? And then seal right here so that he could get a pass over the top that way. But the Suns know that that's the next move. When somebody's getting pushed all the way up and denied all the way up, you have to flip and seal and head the other direction. That's the best way to go about it. But the Suns know that that's what's going to happen next. So they send somebody backside because they're trying to lob it over the top to Wemby. The problem is that one of the big reasons why this even gets picked off at all is because Wemby doesn't hold the seal. So he's getting denied all the way up to the top, denied, 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 denied. When the ball finally gets thrown, he's backing off. He needs to hold that seal until the ball gets over his head, then he can release. That's one of the key things to learn about post play, is that you cannot let go of that seal, because then it gives the defense an opportunity to get to the ball. It gives an equal opportunity for both sides to get to the ball. Look at that right there. Now both of them are on the back foot and both of them are trying to get the ball. You can't do that. You have to hold the seal. On top of the fact that you have another player coming in from the backside right here. So you put that together and you get a perfect storm. The ball goes over the top, it gets tipped, and then the backside defender is able to save it and steal it. You get Booker, who is now hopping off of Castle on the strong side, just to shade at Wembanyama, right? O'Neal is on Wemby. You have the backside who is ready to step over if it's needed from Champagny. But Booker's just chilling over here, right? Booker comes all the way over. He has a hand on Wembanyama's hip. He is showing you cannot pass the ball here. So the next best pass goes to Castle. Castle just steps into an open three. That is the kind of three that you give up. That is the kind of three you give up if you're going to do a double team from the strong side. You have to live with that. Now the Suns end up winning this game, so you can say that it worked. It was fine. But that's the negative benefit of making the others beat you, is sometimes the others will beat you. There's a triple team. They just do not want him to get an easy shot off, and you got to respect him for it. There's the double right here. The double comes in from the strong side from Castle's player again. The backside is also coming over with the third player. He's facing 3 players right now, and he ends up taking a very tough shot. This is what they want him to do. They want him to shoot those shots all game. He'll make some of them, but he's not going to make enough of them that they think he can beat him, or that they think that he can beat them. So on the screen right here, as soon as he gets that catch, the double is rushing over. Boom. The backside is rushing over. Is Barnes wide open? Yes, doesn't matter. We're going to make him take a tough midi and live with the consequences. Yeah. This is something he's going to learn over time. He's got a great post-up catch right here. Good. He faces up. Obviously, he's seeing a couple of different defenders from other directions. But the thing is that he gets that hard commit from the double team at this second right here. Right here. This guy's coming over hard. And he's getting shielding from this guy right here. The issue is that he spends 1 second too long with the dribble. With that dribble, he suddenly misses his guy. If he didn't dribble, we have a layup. And let's play it in full time so you can see it. Here comes the double. Now, pass. Nope, he takes a dribble, and because of that, the ball gets deflected. Doesn't end up in a turnover because it goes off the Suns, but it's just 1 second, and that's the thing. Basketball's a game of inches. So I'm going to show you a couple clips. These are roughly all the same, but towards the end of this game, Wemby just starts standing in the dunker spot and doing nothing else. It's not the end of the world, but I'll show you the clips right here. He's just standing in the dunker spot doing nothing. Maybe he's tired. I don't know. But they kind of give up on giving him touches at this point in the game because he's had several turnovers. And, not the best shooting game of all time. But you can see him right here. He's not a part of the offense anymore. He's just chilling. He's doing nothing. He's a non-factor on the floor there. And we'll look at one more right here. Here it is again. He's just chilling in the dunker spot. He's not doing anything. He's waiting. There's no movement. There's nothing. That's it. So it starts to become a situation in which when he takes himself out of the play like that, they start playing 4-on-4. And maybe that's what the coach told him to do. But to just kind of shut yourself down at the end of the game because you're having a rough game is an easy trap to fall into, but not one that you should fall into because it is obviously a trap and it's bad. That's not a good thing. Right here, he just decides, I'm just going to kind of not continue to be aggressive. You'll notice if you were to watch this game in its entirety, there are not a lot of pick and rolls in this game, which is really strange because if you're dealing with a double, the first thing I would want to do is run a pick and roll, either having Wemby be the primary ball handler and pick and roll from him, and then he passes out of the double, or have him be the screener and then see what the defense does from there. One of the big issues, though, about Wembanyama is when he sets screens, he does not set solid screens. That is probably my biggest criticism of Wembanyama. You can call me a hater or whatever. I think he's spectacular, but he does not set solid screens. He'll set these weird moving screens where he's just trying to get the switch, but he's not actually trying to set a screen so his player can be rubbed off of. He just sets these kind of weak false switch screens. And because of that, you don't end up with clean pick and roll looks. But on top of that, the Spurs aren't running the pick and roll that much in this game. A lot of times they're looking for him to post up, catch the ball, and then deal with the double. When the obvious thing to do would be to throw a lot of pick and rolls at the situation and see how that gets handled instead of just giving up and throwing him into the dunker spot. So we're back at the Lakers game now. This is game 2 of our little doubleheader here. Wembanyama is going to do a similar thing. When the Spurs are not actively running a play for Wembanyama, Wembanyama is doing nothing, meaning he's standing in the dunker spot waiting for something to happen. That's him right there in the beginning of the game. He has not really done a ton of... Sometimes they don't get him super active in the first quarter, and I tend to find that's the key to getting him going, is getting him active in the first quarter. In the Bulls game, where he kind of stepped back up a couple days ago, he's active in that first quarter. He's playing really well, he's scoring, he's aggressive. In this game, he starts the game by standing in the dunker spot. We'll look at it again right here. There's another example I have for you. Here we go again. Wembanyama just cuts down low and chills in the dunker spot. Not great. You want to get him really, really active in that first half of the game. Get him in a pick and roll. Get him in a post up. Let him bring the ball up and put him in a screen and roll. The best thing that you can do is get him really confident. Same thing happened in game 1 of the entire NBA season when he's playing against the Mavericks. He's killing it in that first quarter, and that confidence will build and build and build on itself. It applies to any player, regardless of whether you're Victor Wembanyama or some random schmuck off of the JV team. You're gonna feel more confident when you start the game well. Just no duh, that's human. It's human psychology right there. If you're starting him off with not even getting him involved in plays and not moving at all, you're gonna have a lot rougher time to get him going. And because of that, he's not necessarily like great in this game. It takes him a bit to get scoring again. Yep, he's seeing bodies. The Lakers are kind of operating like a zone would. They're not in a zone, but they're operating like a zone would. Because when Wemby is trying to drive, you have Vanderbilt, who's lingering right here. This guy's wide open. This guy's wide open. Maybe wide is a bit of a stretch, and this would be a tough play. But you got a guy who's open right here because Vando is saying, I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to give you a wall. You have, off of Keldon Johnson, you have Ayton really shading hard over here. And then obviously you have Wemby's primary defender chilling on him right there as well. So when you get this drive, Ayton is shading. He's not stepping over fully, but he's shading. He's making it difficult. You have Vando sitting in the middle of the paint. If he was here a couple seconds more, this would be an illegal defense, but it's fine, right? And Vando is immediately contesting that shot. You get Luka, who's in that zone as well. You have all these players. Look at all these players that are pulling in as Wemby decides to drive. You're just showing him bodies to where he has to pass it out. Yeah, not a well-advised 3. I'm aware that Wembanyama can shoot the 3 ball. I know he can. I'm not saying big men can't shoot 3. I'm not doing that, like, caveman coaching kind of thing. I'm not doing that. But you do have to be able to read the defense, my guy. He's been cold in this first quarter. The way to get yourself going is to get yourself a couple easy ones. Not by shooting 3 feet behind the arc. I know you think that that's an easy shot because they're giving it to you, but there's a reason why they would give that shot to you. It's because it's not a good shot. I'm sorry. It's just not a good shot for Wembanyama to get yourself going. If you've made a couple already, shoot that shot if you're Wemby. But if this is like the first shot you want to make in the game, not great. Right, he gets this catch right here. We get a pick and roll. Let's go. Yes, we're getting a switch. You have an advantageous switch. You have Doncic on you. But instead of taking it against Luka, or seeing if Ayton's going to stay and maybe being able to pass it out to Castle because you might get some kind of faux double, you just shoot this 3. You're not even like pressuring the defense in any way. You're just shooting the 3 right off the bat. So Instead of reading the situation and looking at what you have the screen, okay, who's going to double? It's just not 3. It's not a great choice for where you are at this point in the game and actually reading what the defense is going to do to you. You're making their lives a lot easier. This is the reason why teams will double team Wembanyama. It's because when he only sees one body, he's basically unstoppable. There's no single defender that is going to be able to hold him back. With very few exception, I think I might posture that Giannis would be able to defend Wembanyama to a competent level. At some point, I was going to say that Anthony Davis would be able to do it, but we all saw the Dallas game. That's not the case. There's not a lot of people who can face him off one-on-one. And least of all, that's probably not going to be Bronny. As much as I like Bronny, so he only sees one body right here. And this is just a drive. There's nothing you can do about that. So yeah, it's kind of over as soon as Bronny faces up against him. He doesn't have the strength. He ends up falling back. Yes, the double team comes over, but Bronny just gets bodied so hard that by the time Connect gets there, it's a bank shot. It is what it is, but if you give him a head of steam to the basket, he just gets really, really difficult to guard. And there's a reason, again, why. They're trying to deter him from even catching the ball, or when he catches the ball, showing as many people as they can to get the ball out of his hands. It's because he'll do something like that. He just needs a couple dribbles, and suddenly he's too much of a locomotive to be able to stop him. This is what I was talking about when it says that Wemby doesn't hold screens, is this. Stand still, Wemby. Stand still. I know you want the switch. You're gonna get the switch. But stand still. So your guy, Castle, can run off the screen and it can be clean. They're just setting the screen for the switch, which is not... It's not the end of the world, but you can do more with the screen than just aim for a switch. And that's what they do here. Good skip pass, so you can skip and then get it inside to Wemby. That's the goal of that. So smart decision overall. He gets fronted right here. This is the #1 killer. If you're a big man and you have a little guy on you, you have to be aware that that little guy is going to want to strip the ball as soon as you bring it low. You have to keep the ball high, keep it strong, and not even give them the opportunity to get a hold of that basketball without fouling you. It gets stripped, and they get the ball back, sure. It gets stripped because he brings the ball low. So he makes 2 mistakes in this. You gotta hold that screen, but he just has gone for the switch, so fine. But then you cannot bring the ball low, because he does, and it gets stripped. That's the difference between the ball falling out of bounds and Wemby probably getting a decent look off against somebody who is much smaller than him. Okay, so he holds the screen right there. Great. He gets a switch, but he's seeing bodies already. Marcus Smart is... he's just a crafty guy. He's going to stand right here, right outside the circle. He's setting up. He sees Wemby's coming in. He knows exactly what he's about to do right here. He knows he's going to get this. So he takes this screen. Or excuse me, he takes this charge right here, knowing that he's going to be able to get enough contact that he can sell it. Marcus Smart's really intelligent. I'm not going to say smart because that's a bit of a double. He's very intelligent with how he positions himself and uses the rules of the game against the offense. He's able to bend and twist rules that put him in a good spot even though he's undersized, and he works his butt off. Wemby doesn't see the fact that Smart is setting up for that charge because he's so focused on just trying to get to his spot and get a dunk or get a layup that he doesn't slow himself down. He just goes and thinks that he can just power in. This is one of those things that in a year or two, it's not going to be as big of an issue for Wemby as it is right now. Good. That's a quick post up right there. That's really good. And he exposes the ball. So this is good. This starts out really well. Wemby's busting his butt up the floor. He finds a man. He posts up immediately. They hit him pretty quick right here. He catches that ball. That's really good position. This is really, really good. The only problem is that, again, he exposes the ball. Bronny's not really trying to steal this. He kind of gets it by accident, meaning that Wemby needs to hold the ball stronger, and he needs to be probably a little higher up with it at that. You almost had it, and again, within a year, he's going to recognize that he needs to be stronger with the ball here, and this won't end up being, it was not a steal. This won't end up being some sort of missed shot. And then he dunks on Bronny, so, you know, you can't really fault him for that play overall, but it was a little sloppy based on the way that he handled himself in the post. Good. So this time he's a lot more under control. He waits on that screen. He actually takes the screen, gets the switch, and pulls back. Great. He's got a worse defender on him. He drives. He picks up the ball, keeps it high over somebody like Marcus Smart. This is really good. He notices that the big man steps up, and he has his guy right down here. Boom. So he makes that pass. That's a really solid play overall. Making that pass, it ends up in a layup. This is great. This is just him slowing down, reading the play. Like I suggested earlier when he shot that three, when he just rushed it. Now he's slowed down. He gets that read he wants, keeps the ball really high, notices the defender stepping up, his baseline guy cutting, and gets a good layup. This is Wembanyama, when he is slowed down, becoming a very good playmaker, which is something I think he's incredibly capable of doing. And he does that right there. Okay, this play is particularly frustrating to me. I don't like this play. And it might seem like a standard play, and that's fine. But if you're Wembanyama, you have to be hyper aware of what personnel is on you. Boom. Look who's on him. That's Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's like maybe 6'2". On a good day. I know he's an aggressive defender and he's kind of a pest to play against. He's a pest, okay? But if you're Wembanyama, who's down low right now? Smart and Luka? Really? Yeah, I'm gonna post up because if Castle's bringing the ball down the floor, I am posting up on Smart right now. I don't care what the play is. I'm posting up on this guy. He's tiny. This is exactly what I want. But he comes up and he sets a screen, gets a switch, and gets LaRavia on him. And I'm not saying LaRavia is like a crazy good defender, but LaRavia is like size to Wembanyama. He's got height. He's going to be harder to shoot over. He's going to be harder to body up against. Wemby just sets a screen and then runs off to the dunker spot and does nothing for the rest of the play. He takes himself out of the play when he had the matchup he wanted the entire time back here. Right? So that we get this tip in. He has the matchup that you would set screens for already, and he doesn't take it. You have to post up. You have to be aggressive. There are times when he decides to just not be aggressive, and I don't understand why. You are the best player on this floor. You can be the best player on this floor. Post up against the smaller guy and get an easy bucket in semi-transition. That's why that play frustrates me, even though, again, it doesn't look like a major deal. It is. Back to the double team. We're going to take a look at a couple of classic double teams in these next two plays. This first play right here, we have Rui. Rui is kind of dedicated to guarding Wemby for a lot of this game. It's Rui and Vando. Off of this screen, Champagnie clears out just to, get out of the play so Wemby can drive. Rui completely ignores him. He just says, okay, you're going to do whatever you want over there. You're going to run off over here. Cool. I'm going to ignore you, and I'm going to come, and I'm going to double. That's basically what happens, and Champagnie does not do anything to actually make the Lakers pay for this mistake. So when we get this drive, Rui just, faces up into this double team with Luka. This is a good double right there. Smart is now covering two, so Smart's covering here and here. Castle is open, so if Wemby were to make that pass, it would be a good pass, but it's kind of a tough one, I'm not going to lie. And again, We are working in the milliseconds right now, whereas this is happening in real time. Wembanyama shoots this tough shot. It's a tough mid-range shot over 2 people. If I'm the Lakers, that's a good defensive possession for me. It means if it means I have to ignore an entire Spurs player on the floor just so we can double Wemby, that's a win, because he's not making me pay for, completely ignoring people. There's that back screen. Wemby gets the play. Once again, Champagny is running off to the corner over here. And Rui says, I don't care about you. I'm going to guard Wemby and come here. We're back at it again. Like, he's making it easy on him. And the thing is I understand why Champagny is doing this. I'm not knocking Champagny. Right now, they're trying to clear out the entire side so that Wemby has all this space to work with. That's the reason why they're doing this. The dealio is that they're just crowding everybody over here so he can work all the way out there. Now, though, that means that Rui can just come over and double. He can just double. And Wemby mishandles and ends up turning the ball over because he's rushing again. Wemby getting ahead of steam is really dangerous because he gets by his initial defender because he's just going faster than Ayton is. Now he's got one guy to deal with, and that's Luka down low. Yeah, Luka is just like, I'm getting out of the way. That's a business decision. If Ayton was able to stick with Wemby and Luka and him were able to converge, that would have been a stop. But because Ayton, the primary defender, was not able to hold on to Wemby long enough, it's a dunk. All right, denial at the 3-point line. Vassell can't get it to him. Connect is holding, but you can get away with a little bit of that on a bigger guy, and it ends up being that Wemby doesn't get a touch this possession. That is the shot you want him to take. It's single coverage, but it's a tough contested pull-up. Here comes the triple team. Yeah. We got a triple team right here, right? Pretty clean, pretty easy to see. The first thing Wemby does, though, is he retreats. He does not try and pivot strong. He does not try and retake that space. He gives up his space, and because of that, a good defender, or really any defender who knows what they're doing at all, recognizes that if somebody's going to retreat, I'm going to take up all the space they're giving me. If you're going to give me free real estate, I'm going to take that real estate. So, as Wembanyama retreats, Connect closes that gap, stays with him, and keeps that ball pressure on him. We talked about this. When Wembanyama gets ahead of steam, he's nearly unstoppable. But if you're right on top of him, it's really hard for him to get some momentum to build into a drive because he's being jammed right at the top of the key. Yeah, Smart's working so hard on this play. You just have to respect him for that. So let's take a look at the full play. I'll break it down. Holds the pick, gets the switch. Okay, you got the switch that you wanted. Now, Marcus Smart is fronting. Wemby tries to flip. What you need to do next now, if you're Wemby, is you need to flip and push Smart up the line and hold that seal so you can get a pass over the top. Like so. Boom, right there. Right? You need to hold this line right here and push, and then get that pass over the top. If you let Smart push you under the rim, you have no advantage. And that's exactly what happens. He gets pushed under the rim. He just gives up that space. Now, if you were to try and make that pass over the top, it's just basically a shot. There's no room on the baseline for you to make a shot because you're out of bounds. So, what has to happen is that he has to hold that space higher up, but he doesn't. So Smart pushes him under, fronts. Now he's denying the ball. We have LaRavia on the back side. So LaRavia could come over and double if needed, and a defender can see that while Smart is fronting. Really great stuff defensively. Yes, you are giving up this skip pass to Keldon Johnson, but you're denying the ball from Wemby, so he's not even getting an opportunity. Then Smart is over the top. They finally get a pass to Wemby, and then Smart sells it. You gotta give credit where credit is due. Smart is working so hard, but Wemby is just giving up ground against a guy who's so much smaller than him, when if we go all the way back, this moment right here, Wemby has a bucket waiting for him. All he has to do is hold the seal, but he doesn't. He gives up his position, and he just sits under the rim. And then that's kind of where the play like hits its penultimate point, and he can't really get the bucket that he's looking for. We're back to the fronting again. Rui is fronting, finally loses the ground, but he pushes Wemby really high up into the catch. And because he delays that catch so much, Ayton is able to come over from this backside and come in for the double. That wouldn't have been able to happen if Rui didn't delay the catch quite as much. So now we have this double team. Wemby is, I don't know what this play ends up being. He just whips it right to Luka. I genuinely think that that pass came off of his hand wrong, and that's why he just passes it directly to Luka. But he panics here. Instead of taking his time, recognizing, okay, what are my options? Where are my people? He's thinking, oh, I just need to just whip the ball over. I think his goal was to pass all the way over here. I think that was his goal. If you are Champagny, which I believe that's who it is, what you need to do is you need to get out of this corner where you cannot get the ball and get right to this gap right here so you can shoot a three. That's what needs to happen. That's not what happens because there's not really a lot of opportunity for it. Wemby just wails that pass a lot faster. Again, I'm pausing, so there's going to be points in time in which in real time it's going to be impossible to read this, but if Wemby just slowed down a little bit and then we get this cut right up here, that becomes really difficult because then if the ball goes here, we have a 2-on-1 situation. Luka now has to guard Barnes or Champagny, and then you end up with a 2-on-1, a dunk, or a three. That's how you break a double team. It's not normally a one-pass shot. Sometimes it's two, but it means that those players have to be aware that, hey, I'm open. Let me get to a spot where I can actually get the ball. Again, I'm not saying that anybody ran this play incorrectly other than Wembanyama rushed it, and so the play wouldn't have been able to run out the way that it should have because it's just too fast. The final thoughts I want to bring to this is I did watch the Pelicans game. I'm not going to break down the Pelicans game because most of it was just Wembanyama not having a particularly good shooting game. He settles for a lot of threes in that game. He misses those threes. Some of them are short. He might have been tired. His legs just weren't in it, whatever the case may be. I don't think that the Pelicans game is necessarily representative of the Pelicans shutting down Victor Wembanyama. But I do think that the two losses they sustained against the Suns and the Lakers are partly because of the defensive plans run by those two respective teams. With the Bulls, I had somebody tell me that during the Bulls game, he finally figured out how to deal with the double team. I watch most of the first quarter, and I recognize there's not a single double team being thrown at him. He's getting single coverage with Vucevic the entire time, and he just beats one guy and gets dunks and layups and threes and whatever he wants. If you're an NBA team, you cannot guard Victor Wembanyama one-on-one because he's just too good. He's too good. You have to have a very specific defensive plan for him, and you have to have him make plays out of it. And that's the reason why I think Wembanyama can be slowed down, but it requires an almost playoff level of game planning and scouting to be done in order to get him in a position where he's not going to be as big of a factor that's going to threaten your ability to win the basketball game. And credit where credit is due, the Suns and the Lakers had game plans, and those game plans worked. Will they work in the next 2 years as Wembanyama gets more used to this style of defense? That remains to be seen. I would say he's going to get a lot more used to it. To give an example, there were points in time in which the same game plan was used against a player like LeBron James, where you would just throw bodies at him and you would make it very difficult for him to beat you one-on-one. The problem is, LeBron can play make. The same thing applies to a Nikola Jokic. You can't double team Nikola Jokic like you can with other more offensively minded players because of their ability to pass out of the double. Wembanyama, based on his intelligence and his height, can easily pass out of most double teams he's going to see, but he just needs to slow down. Ultimately, I think that he's going to be able to improve off of this, and we're probably going to see an MVP Wembanyama If not this year, within the next 3 years, pretty much guaranteed. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know this was a very long one, but I love breaking down film. And I really, I put a lot of research into this because I wanted to take a look at exactly what teams are doing to handle a player of this caliber, frankly, that we've never seen before. Let me know what else you want to see, like, subscribe if you've made it this far. I mean, at this point, like, it's a click of a button. You guys have already done all the hard work, right? If not, I appreciate y'all, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.